what a day it was. A trade deadline to remember that gets wrapped up with a shootout victory on the road against the Dallas Stars. The Avs, in stunning fashion, come from behind with 13 seconds to go. Val Nichushkin scores his 13th goal of the season, sends it to overtime. It was back and forth. Grade A scoring opportunities from both teams. Colorado escapes the 3-on-3 overtime. And in the shootout, Scott Wedgwood, you animal, he stops Jason Robertson on the back door. He stuffs Matt Duchene on the back door. And then a couple of against-the-grain moves from Val Nichushkin and Marty Necas, and the Avs get the extra point. They now have a 7-point lead with a game in hand over the Dallas Stars for the number 1 seed in the Central. It was a fantastic game, and all of that happened after the Avs traded for fucking Nazem Kadri!
Well, yeah, Colorado, and no Mikko Rantanen for the Dallas Stars. Rupe Hintz had to leave this game. Did he return? He didn't return, right?
He did not return, no.
Yeah, he left. He had been out with illness, but he has to leave this game tonight. But the Avs are without a couple dudes. Look, they're without Arturi Lehkonen, and they're without Nazem Kadri. That's a factor now. That's a part of the equation now. Tonight was the first night that they were officially without Nazem Kadri. They didn't have him tonight. Naz has been out for the Avs for about 2.5, 3 years now with a lower body injury, but he's finally back. No, wait, they traded for him because he signed with the Calgary Flames, and I guess they couldn't afford him then, but they can afford him now. Screw the math of screw what it looks like next year. Screw what it looks like 2 years from now. You are the best team in the league. You are trying to win right now. And because they traded Sam Girard, they opened up a little money. And right now, that's, 20% retained. But whatever it is, south of $7 million that Kadri costs them this year, doesn't matter. They can afford it. They're freaking loaded.
Do you want to start right there with Nazem Kadri, and then we'll get into what was, again, a phenomenal game between these two teams? It is so ridiculous how well matched the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche are. The last time that we saw the Stars this year, well, it was a 5-4 shootout victory for Dallas on the road, and now we get a 5-4 shootout victory for Colorado on the road. We should get a playoff series between these two teams. Do I want to see Dallas in the postseason? Absolutely not. I want Minnesota to beat them in round 1. We'll get into the game in a second. Today was like heart-stopping because we had gotten to the point where 15, 20 minutes or so had passed the 1 p.m. Mountain deadline for the NHL's trade deadline. And at that point, most of the trades have kind of like trickled in, or you've at least heard rumblings of, hey, don't worry, this is kind of happening. An hour after the trade deadline goes through, we get word, and I was talking with some of our Avalanche sources, and they were going, oh, this is happening. Don't you worry, this is happening. It's just very late. I can't remember a blockbuster deal coming an hour after the clock had expired. I remember all of these deals. It's like, oh, here's a 7th rounder for some dude you've never heard of, and all of these things kind of trickle in from a cap perspective. This is the biggest deal to come after the buzzer in my lifetime.
Well, in any sport, I can't remember anything like this. I've seen a couple, maybe like 5-10 minutes after the deadline, but that's probably just how long it took from 1 minute to the hour for it to get out to the media. But this was 45 minutes to an hour. That's very interesting. It does appear that like Calgary wanted to move him, and they were trying to squeeze every last ounce of anything positive that they could get out of this trade, whether it was return, but probably more so a less amount of salary retention, because they don't want to be looking, 4 years from now being like, oh, we're still paying a little money to Nazem Kadri. But guess what? They're going to. It won't be that large of a clip. 20% retained for Calgary. But They wanted to move him, and I guess, the Avs took him until the final minute to somewhat call Calgary's bluff. I'm sure that the Avs did have to, Calgary played hardball. Colorado probably had to do a little something. Maybe it was the salary retention. Maybe they wanted 30%. Calgary said, no, it's got to be 20, whatever. Calgary wanted it done. Colorado wanted it done. And Nazem Kadri, I think most importantly, wanted this done. It seems like this was the only team he wanted to go to. And I can't remember. This is one of the most fun trades in Denver sports history. Maybe there's been bigger. I'm sure that there's been bigger, but this is one of the most fun.
Oh, without a doubt.
Damn fun, dude.
Did you catch any of... So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be part of Kadri's Zoom availability. That happened at 5:30 Mountain today. I was on network on 92.5, so I really wanted to be part of it. I saw some clips. You couldn't wipe the smile off of Naz's face on that Zoom call. It was... All he wanted to do was be here. He was like, I just want to be with my buddies again. I just want to be back there in a place there I know I can win. I went and I made my money. They're retaining enough. The salary cap's bumping up. His play has dropped down just a bit. His production hasn't. That's the thing. Like, his pace has dropped a little bit. His defense has dropped a little bit, but also, like, how much of that is the Flames just being a dumpster fire of suck? His production is kind of who he's been his entire career, which is like a 55 to 65 point season guy. We all remember his 87 point season. That's an anomaly. That was just the crazy year that Naz had. He's kind of a 60 point dude. And that's who he is this year, even on a bad Flames team as he's 35.
Okay. I'm trying to think here. And the only name I've thought of, I'm racking my brain of trades that have gone down this year. I'd go like best players to be moved. I'd go Quinn Hughes 1. I could be forgetting somebody. This is top. Quinn Hughes 1. Is Naz 2? Is Naz
Probably
the second best player to get moved? Somebody help me if I'm missing somebody. Like, that's big. Like, that's the Avs. Like, there's a lot of good names that just got moved. But Naz is, Quinn happened a month or two ago, more than that. Of like the recent week, the Avs acquired the best dude out there. The best team in the league acquired the best guy that got moved.
I'm looking at, actually,
Panarin.
John Carlson.
Yeah, Carlson crossed my mind, but I'm going to put Naz above him.
Oh, I don't know about that. John Carlson can still play, baby. Panarin's a better player than Naz Kadri is right now.
Panarin, so Naz 3. Now
I would put Naz 4 behind Carlson, but
I'm putting him above Carlson, but that's fine.
He does play a more marquee position, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
The deal.
So yeah, I mean, even whatever, that's a big swing. Nick Waugh it was a good move. It was a little disappointing. It wasn't quite what we wanted, but had they not made the Kadri move, I still would have been like, hey, if everybody's healthy and Nick Waugh's your freaking third, we were talking 3C, which is important, but it's not the end of the world. Like, Nick Waugh would have been a good 3C. But then they do this. Do you think that, because now there's talk of Nick Waugh, will he play on the wing? I don't know if I love that. So does that tell me that they weren't sure they'd get Kadri? They wanted it. They maybe thought they could get it done, but it was kind of a surprise. We need to go get Nick Waugh because we don't think we can get Kadri. Oops, wait, we can get Kadri.
It was very clear that it was an option B or C from Colorado, because there were reports yesterday that Naz Kadri and the Avs, they were making headway on a deal, and that ownership in Calgary came over the top and went, we're not making this trade. We're not doing it. And then that got leaked out. It had to have been leaked out by Nazem Kadri's camp, his agent, of we had a deal in place and Naz wanted to go to Colorado. He wants out of Calgary, and the owners said no to it. So that leak, I think, directly leads to Colorado being able to reopen the talks at the very end of the trade deadline so that Calgary can guarantee that they get the best return on the best remaining centerman at the deadline. The Nick Waugh deal was like, oh shit, we can't get Kadri. We need somebody. He might go to the wing. I could also see like Waugh playing in the center and Kadri playing on the wing.
I could see that too. I could see that as well. I could see Kadri playing in the wing in the top 6. There's so many different things you can do. I mean, you could just straight up go Waugh 4C. I only bring that up because, like, do I think Nick Waugh can play on the wing? Yes, I do. But I'd rather him at center given the way he plays. Granted, good player overall. I mean, I'm not, you want to bring in all the good players you can, regardless of any sort of, true fit, just stack with good players. I'm cool with that. You're trying to win a cup. Like they're loaded, even if, and then the options they have are crazy. Cause you could go Brock Nelson 1C, move McKinnon to more of a wing with Natchez. And Nas is your 2C.
Yeah, but I don't
Nas
like putting...
second line wing. You could go Nas 3C. You could go Nas 3 wing. You can do any of those.
You are multiple, right? You can do whatever. And what this is doing is taking a page out of 2 teams' books in the National Hockey League, namely the Florida Panthers and the Dallas Stars, who are just teams that are built with guys who can play the middle of the ice. Look at those Peter DeBoer coached teams, both in Vegas and in Dallas, where like I have 9 centermen, but only 3 to 4 of them can play center at any given time. The same thing happens with Paul Maurice's team out in Florida. They just have a bunch of dudes who can be versatile. Now, the Avs have added guys who have both size, Nick Waugh, and a little bit of fuck you to their game in Nazem Kadri. You can do whatever you want, Spring. I don't know if I would be like super jazzed about putting Nathan McKinnon on a wing, but you have the ability to do it. You now have the tools, you have the toys. I think the roster looks a little bit like this. I think you go McKinnon, Landeskog, Natchez, because that works right now. Don't mess that up.
Yep, I agree.
Nelson, Lehkonen, Nichushkin, and I'd be okay with moving Lehkonen down to the third line if it looks as though Nazem Kadri wants to play left wing up on your second, and you go Nelson, Val, and Kadri. Either one of those works. Let's say Kadri stays on the third line. Kadri, Nick Waugh on the right side, Ross Colton on the left wing, or flip those 2 guys. Maybe even you put Waugh in the middle, Colton on the right, and Kadri on the left so that you have strong-sided players in the defensive zone. And then your fourth line is, assuming health, Jack Drury in the middle of Parker Kelly, Logan O'Connor.
Yeah. That's it right there. That's it. And you still have, Kivi Ronta is a depth guy. Gavin Brindley is a depth guy. So yeah, loaded, added Nick Blankenberg, who now that I've kind of learned about this guy, I kind of like the acquisition. Seems like he was having a low-key pretty good year for his role with Nashville and was like a good room guy as well. So just stacked. Is Scott Wedgwood the one right now?
Oh man. I mean, I tweeted out the end of the game. I was like, do you play Blackwood against the 8 seed? And even if he sweeps the 8 seed, you go, if Dallas is the number 2 team that you're seeing in the second round, Wedgwood gets the starts. And then even if you get past Dallas, you throw Blackwood back in the conference final. Like, it does feel as though you've got a conundrum. Like, Blackwood's been amazing. He's top 5 in every goaltending stat category that you can find. He's been great. He doesn't really play well against the Dallas Stars. Now, he did during the postseason last year.
I mean, the only thing I truly put on Blackwood tonight was that play behind the net. I can't believe they overcome that as a whole, because that was one of those, I was watching briefly with you at that moment, and dude, that's a boneheaded error that usually when a team commits something like that, like that's ball game, even in the first period. But somehow they overcome it. Wedgwood comes in, makes great saves, and I don't know, man. Blackwood's been good, but for some reason, I'm just feeling vibes, when Blackwood is in, it's good. But when Wedgwood is in, it just feels different.
I mean, there were 3 saves that Wedgwood made today that I went, Blackwood can't make that save. He doesn't make that save. And maybe he's not in a position where he has to be that acrobatic, but like the 2 shootout attempts, Mackenzie Blackwood ain't making those saves. He doesn't have that Dominic Hasek, Gumby style reach back. He's not. Mackenzie Blackwood is the more point-to-point, I'm making saves with my head, more of the Carey Price style of like, I'm so perfectly sound and I'm a big dude and I'm going to make the save. Wedgwood he's this slinky, dude. He's a slinky. It's a big question.
He's just on a run. It's just, he's on a season-long heater. It's just his year. It's the year of Wedgwood. That's just what it is. You can't stop it. You can't deny it.
I see a comment here from Michael say, obviously Dallas never made a play for Nazem or Trocheck. We did talk about this on the show the other night. Jim Nill, the GM for the Dallas Stars, came out and said, he goes, I can't make a trade for a big time player. That's the reason why you saw them nibble at the edges, the Tyler Myers, the Michael Buntings of the world. Nill's looking into the future. Dallas's cap space next year, where Thomas Harley jumps up to a $10.5 million hit, and then they have to sign Jason Robertson, not to an extension. Jason Robertson's a free agent this offseason, and he's going to score like 40 goals this year. So Jim Nill came out and said, we can't make a big swing. So that is true. Dallas never kicked the tires on Calgary because they couldn't fit the guy. Also, Vinny Trocheck and the New York Rangers were never making a deal west of Minnesota.
Yeah, he didn't want to go out west. And Colton Parayko didn't want to go to Buffalo. But your boy Luke Shen did, and your boy Logan Stanley, your 2 Jets dudes, they go to Buffalo. John Carlson's a good name. Kadri's, that's the story. That's the headline maker. That's your number one. And it was the Avs. The Avs were the team that made that move. And the power play was good tonight. They're doing that Natchez high McKinnon low thing, and that factored in on like all of their success on the power play. Like McKinnon down low was where everything happened, low left. And now do they mix in Kadri on power play 1?
You probably should. Nazem Kadri's a really solid power play guy. In the bumper, man, Kadri's great. But now you look at this, they're running at 26% since they've come back from Milan. And if the Avs power play runs at 26%, they're going to win a fucking Stanley Cup.
That's still really low, but it's better than 31 or 32.
26% is not low at all. 26% puts you like...
Oh, excuse me. I thought my wires got crossed. I thought 20. I'm so used to 32nd in the league that when I hear 26,
yes.
I think 26th in the league.
No,
I was thinking in the dregs. My mind has just been destroyed by that power play. Oh, yeah. No, 26% is really good. And let's look at night and day with Natchez more high and McKinnon more low. Like Natchez seems far more comfortable, more away from the net than closer to the net. And that was something that we talked about like all season long, was how if they were going to do what they were doing, Natchez has to be like a net front and he was in the net front, and he's got to be that bodier and that tipper. And he started getting like a little better at it, but you could tell that was not his comfort zone. And now that they moved him back a little more, on his strong shot left side, that's what it's been. Yeah. And all this kind of I wonder how much of this does this ever happen if Nathan McKinnon didn't have to miss the Utah game coming out of the break?
That's
because Natchez scored in that area, filling in for Nate in that true left role in that game. And I wonder if, Bednar and Hackstall looked at that and they were just like,
Dude, it never happens without the NHL going back to the Olympics. It doesn't happen.
Or because Nate would have never missed that game.
Nate would have never missed the game, and Marty Natchez wouldn't have gone on the power play and ripped home 4 laser one-timers with the Czechs.
That too.
You can thank Gary Bettman and the NHLPA for putting the players back in the Olympics, for fixing the Avs power play. If you take away the empty net power play goal spring, they dropped from 26% down to 22%. And you know what? That's way better than what it was before.
I'll take 22. all day. So what Sunday is the Nazem Kadri debut, right?
Sunday at noon. That's a nationally televised game. You can watch it on TNT or you can listen to it on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5, 11:30 a.m. pregame and like a 12:08 puck drop, maybe a little bit later because it's a nationally televised game. But that place, when Nazem Kadri gets announced, and like they would be idiots not to put Naz in the starting lineup so that you get the whole the rigmarole and the Broadway production. When Nazem Kadri's face gets projected onto the ice at Ball Arena and Alan Roach with his booming voice says, "Number 91, Nazem Kadri," that place is going to fucking explode.
Probably any little video package. You got all the highlights. You got all the moments. Man, what a time for returns. Landeskog returning, Kadri returning. They didn't have to give up Nichushkin. And the only reason that it even made some sense that Nichushkin's name was brought up with all of this was because the money kind of matched. Nichushkin just over 6 mil, Kadri at 7 mil. So it would have made sense just from that perspective. But why would you're just picking, that's like which one do you prefer?
Right.
You know, do you like a soup or a salad? Do you like Nazem Kadri or Valeri Nichushkin? It was literally have just been pick your choice, but they're going to say screw the money because the money wasn't an issue for this year or even next year. It's in 2 years. But guess what? They'll figure that out. They'll trade somebody else. Maybe they'll do something. And so being able to hold on to Nichushkin and just truly going all in, well, you missed no beats. You know, it's not a 1-for-1. You've added. You didn't take anything away. You just strictly added. Losing Victor Olofsson is absolutely nothing. Losing Valeri Nichushkin would have kind of just felt like, well, we're just hoping it's a little better. And then Nichushkin has his best game of the season tonight and looks like prime Valeri Nichushkin.
Big time goal, big time player, shootout goal. Like maybe this is the thing that sparks him now, and now he finds his scoring touch. I was really, really nervous that they were going to move him after those rumors were reported by originally Dater. And you know, I do think there's probably legs to that. Like if you're trying to make a big move,
that it was discussed
100%. I'm not saying like it's a rumor in like an asshole sense. If you were trying to bring in a big time player, you have to talk about big time money, or at least we thought so. Next year, spring, it's an issue. The off-season money is an issue. There will be players on this team. If the Avs win a cup, there will be players on this team that are contracted through next season and beyond that will be traded away from the Avalanche. They have a projected $4.5 million of cap space next year with 18 of 23 rostered players signed. The math doesn't math. Someone's going to be moved, right? Whether it's Nichushkin or Colton or somebody else. It's future Avs problems. You're right. You're right, Homopoulos. Future Avs problems. Fuck them picks. You're in the middle of Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon and Marty Necas and both of your goaltenders' primes. You are in it to win it every single year. You know what you beg for right now? You beg to be the Pittsburgh Penguins 8 years from now. You beg to be what the Washington Capitals are this year, not last year, 8 years from now. You just better hope that you have 2 or 3 cups to your name and not just one.
Yeah, no, it's too important when you're in it, when you're in the season. And I understand wanting to remain flexible for the future and maximizing, extending a window, squeezing the life out of a window. But when you're in the heat of a season and you're the best team and the playoffs are right around the corner and every single one of those games is going to be dissected under a microscope, like you have to do everything you can right now. And I don't care about the picks at all. And their picks are all going to be, they're essentially, first is essentially a second.
Yep.
And we've seen the Avs use some of those picks and they're like Justin Barron, you know.
And then what do they do with Justin Barron? They flip him from an NHL player.
And like they often don't even, they might get okay, but the odds of them becoming superstars are low. So you got superstars, you got Hall of Famers in their prime right now. And so I love that, they only had to part with Gerard and Olofsson, and Kulak to Gerard is negligible. That's, different skill sets. Olofsson that was a late signing in the offseason that was like, okay, nice. You didn't have to part with Ross Colton. You didn't have to part with Nichushkin, which would have been crazy, but you didn't. So you have just put yourself on steroids.
Yep.
Because they would have still been my favorites without Kadri, even without Waugh. Now you've added Kadri and Waugh. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, you got better. Looking forward just very quickly with this money, and I don't want to make this like a future Avs problem podcast tonight. The free agents that they have coming up next year are Jack Drury, restricted, Zakhar Bardakov, restricted, Joel Kiviranta is an unrestricted free agent. All of their other forwards on the team are currently rostered and signed through next year. They currently have 4 defensemen that are signed. Cale Makar will be a $9 million cap hit next season. Devon Taves, $7.25. Josh Manson, $3.95. Sam Alinsky at $4.75 million. Kulak, Burns, and Blankenberg are all unrestricted free agents going into next season. Now, the Avs do currently have $2.9 million left in cap space for the regular season. I think they're going to try and do their very, very best to stretch that out so you can eat a little bit of Brent Burns' cap overage in terms of his bonuses. You have to build in $3 million for that. If you don't, then it swaps into next season. So they're going to eat a little bit this year, a little bit next year for Burns. You're likely going to have to trade a rostered forward away, and you're going to have to lean on either like a rookie making the team on the back end. Maybe this is the year that Gulyayev comes over. You're going to have some juggling to do in the offseason. But at this point, man, you can't worry about next year. You can't worry about the season after that. You have to worry about you being the best team in the National Hockey League, getting better and getting over the hump. Because if you win cup number 2, you've confirmed it all, right? Winning cup number 2 puts you along the same thought process as the Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, and Peter Forsberg era was an unabashed success, right? With 2 cups. If you get your second cup, you are an unabashed success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think 1 is a success, but legacy wise, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Makar, McKinnon, you want to do it. You really want to do it. And you saw what this team's capable of tonight. Playing the hottest team in the league, the second best team in the league, and they win comeback fashion. It's the real deal. It's the real deal. You go all in. You're talking about, okay, the future problems. You're losing a Ross Colton. You're losing a Nichushkin. One of the two, maybe both. Fine. Cost of doing business, and we'll worry about that in the summer. So should be fun coming up. Hey, Minnesota is up 3-0, end of 2 in Vegas. What's going on with Vegas? There's that.
They're not, they don't feel real. They don't feel Vegas-y to me this season.
They don't. I think, losing a Pietrangelo hurts. For his, career, like you've said, but like they're not physical. They're goaltending. They, letting Logan Thompson walk and just kind of playing goaltender roulette. It's why with the Avs, like someone in the chats brought up like trading Mackenzie Blackwood. I would not do that. Goaltending is too valuable. You don't know.
He's so good. He's so very good.
He's so good. It's a good value at like $5.5 million.
Great value.
Especially
for a guy who's top 5 in every statistical category.
You don't know. Wedgwood, this could just be a season thing, and next year he comes back down to earth a little bit. It's tough to maintain it in the NHL. It feels like, your Sorokins, like wins a Vezina, struggle a little bit. It's hard. It's hard, man, to keep it going consistently year in, year out of goaltending. The tandem will pay off as well for Blackwood, like not burning him out.
Paid off in 2022
over the course of his contract. So I wouldn't trade either of the goaltenders. But yeah, money is going to have to come off the books a little bit. And another thing in the chat, Raj, somebody brought up Logan O'Connor, said we haven't mentioned him tonight. You did mention him as the theoretical fourth liner when all is said and done. But that's another acquisition. That's a de facto trade deadline acquisition.
I don't know how much of an impact he's going to be able to make if he doesn't come back during the regular season and play like 10 games, 7 games. I think he needs to get his legs underneath him. He was back on the ice today, right? He was out there at morning skate. So it seems as though he's trending in the right direction. Now, remember, the LTIR loophole has been closed by the NHL. So you can't keep Logan O'Connor on long-term injury reserve through the end of the season. He must be activated during the regular season so that you have to carry his $2.5 million cap hit into the playoffs, right? You can't just eat it and then now you're $2.5 million over the cap like Vegas did every season. Honestly, like the Avalanche did a couple of years as well. You can't do that anymore. They killed that. They put the kibosh on it. So he has to come back during the regular season. I think he's coming close. That fourth line together would be awesome. Give me back OC, Drury, and Kelly. They'll be great.
That's an amazing fourth line. The season that Parker Kelly has had, it's one. It's why I'm sure they do want to play Nick Waugh on the wing because, even after the Waugh trade before the Kadri trade, I'm like, oh, yeah, Jack Drury, 4C, we've talked about it. That's where they want them. That's what makes most sense. But I wouldn't want him out of the lineup. I wouldn't want him moving to wing. I want Jack Drury at 4C. So, therefore, one of Waugh or Kadri is playing wing now. But like you said earlier in the show, you're talking about, other teams, the Panthers, if you're loaded with centers, if you're loaded with middle of the ice players, they're very savvy. It's also easier to move from center to wing. It's more natural.
All centers can play wing. Not all wings can play center.
Exactly. But yeah, so Jack Drury he should stay at 4C. And that line, when healthy, we haven't seen it. Saw it a little last year. They have good chemistry. The emergence of Parker Kelly. And O'Connor's a third-line player when he's right. Like, when he's right and going. So he's a luxury on your fourth line right now when he's back.
Logan asks, who is the prospect that the Avalanche gave up to get Kadri? Max Curran was a 5th-round selection back in the 2024 NHL draft. He is a Czech national player. He's currently playing junior hockey in his 3rd season in the Western Hockey League. I believe he's with the Edmonton Oil Kings, and he is committed to play college hockey for UMass Amherst next season. He's done really well in the WHL, but, you turned a 5th-round pick into Naz Kadri. Well, a 5th rounder, a 1st and a 2nd, into Kadri and a 4th. So I say yes to that. I think Max Curran could be a middle to bottom 6 forward in the NHL. Do I think he's going to be an impact player? I don't. Do I think he's going to be an NHL player? I do. But I'm willing to give him up.
All day. Call me when, he's something. And I'm rooting for him.
Right. It is call me when he becomes something. You mentioned Drew Hellison and you mentioned
Justin Barron.
What are they doing right now, man?
Hellison's a good little player, but
is he an impact player?
No.
Does he impact the game as much as Josh Manson does?
And the timeline of development for these guys, unless you're a Macklin Celebrini or something like that, it takes a while. It takes a few years. Look at Gavin Brindley. What was he? Early 2nd-round pick, Raj, and, flashed, but then the game gets fast and you're young and you got to grow into your NHL body and learn the game speed, and it's got to slow down for you. You don't have time. But, so Gavin Brindley will remain a trade asset, but he's also somebody that is cheap right now. And if you can hold on to him, he's like the one prospect type guy that you kind of want to have. But everything else is on the table. You can part with literally anything else.
I think Brindley's a lock to be on this team next year because his was it a 2 or a 3-year extension at like $875,000?
Exactly. It's so
Yeah.
cheap that you can't move it,
Like
even
you
though he
have
does
to
have
have
value.
him. You have to have him
Yeah.
on the roster because
But
of
you
all the
only have
money
room
they
for
just
like
brought
one
in.
of those guys. You don't have time for other guys to marinate and develop. Like, look what happened with like Alex Newhook, you know? Like, yeah, he had to grow and he had to learn, and the Avs just quite simply didn't have time for that. So they moved him. And that's just the window they're in.
Joey on Twitter replied to it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek comment of mine that we just talked about with Blackwood and Wedgwood of like, oh, do you just start Wedgie in the Dallas series and then Blackwood all the other series? And he goes, nah, the best thing that you can do is you play the hot goaltender. And he played a gif of Patrick Waugh in 1995-96 when he was doing the 2 Stanley Cup rings in his ears, responding to Jeremy Roenick. And I understand, like, Patrick Waugh got hot there, but Patrick Waugh also had 2 Stanley Cups and a Conn Smythe to his name at that point. He may have had 2 Conn Smythes to his name at that point. So I don't know if Patrick Waugh and a hot Scott Wedgwood are the same thing.
Sure. Well, I mean, look, it's just going to be an interesting finish to the season. Like, I don't think the decision's made. It's not even close to being made. It'll be made by the end of the season. If Scott Wedgwood keeps it up, he might be the guy. I don't know. I think whoever's I wouldn't risk it. It could be Edmonton, game 1, of the playoffs. It could be Edmonton. It could be a Seattle Kraken team that just made a couple moves today. So if Wedgwood's the hot guy and it's game 1 of the playoffs, but I know he's got the uphill battle.
As of right now,
Blackwood's the nepotism guy. I know it's not nepotism, but he's just, he's going to have that inherent edge. So Wedgwood's just going to have to start in and start out, just ball. And he might.
The other thing about this, though, is Mackenzie Blackwood's a starter. And he's been a starter in this league for most of his career and was drafted to be a starter in this league. Scott Wedgwood's a career backup. So my thought process is, because both guys have been stellar this year, they've both been excellent this year, I go in with Blackwood as my number 1. And if he falters, I go to the guy who's comfortable coming off the bench as a backup. You saw it today. He came in out of the game, stopped 10 shots and 2 shootout opportunities against Dallas. I'm not confident that Mackenzie Blackwood has that type of cog rotating in his brain. The brain of a starter is different from the brain of a career backup. And I'm not saying that like Scott's the worst goaltender. They're both like right here. They've both been so freaking good. So I'm going to go Blackwood as my starter. And if anything happens, if you have a bad game, a couple of bad periods, you have a short leash and I get to go to a guy who's comfortable coming off the bench. That's how I would play it.
That's fair. That's a fair point. The backup point, the backup mentality points. I hear that. Yeah, it'll probably be Blackwood. It would have to be some sort of dip. Unless it's just night in and night out. Scott Wedgwood is doing things that are just undeniable. But that's why it's going to be an interesting, and it really is iron sharpens iron, and it's a good problem. It's one of those good problems to have, and I'd be comfortable with either one. Even if let's say Wedgwood's red hot, and it's like, oh my gosh, how can you deny it? But you'd still go with Blackwood. Guess what? I'm fine with it because Mackenzie Blackwood is a damn good goaltender.
I feel the same way about that, like you did about had they not traded for Naz, would have been just fine.
Would have been fine. It's just a cherry on. It's all we got. We're filled with cherries on top right now.
Big cherry guy. Power play was fantastic tonight. They go 2 of 5. 4 of the 5 power plays were unbelievably dangerous. 1 power play sucked. I think it was like their 3rd of the game was no good. It was the first power play in the 3rd period, I think was terrible.
Sounds about right.
Dude, it was awesome. It was dangerous from the get-go. Multiple grade A opportunities, not overpassing the puck. They hit 3 different posts. Nichushkin hits 2 posts on 1 shot. Landeskog almost scored, got boxed out. Really good box out by Esa Lindell there. Lindell blocks a shot on a one-timer opportunity. The power play was great.
Yeah, and another thing that I like that they're doing, and it's now at least the second time we've seen it, I think the second time with Cale Makar, the first one that they scored tonight, and he scored one like this recently. kind of cutting down to the right. McKinnon low left feeds him as he cuts down into the slot, and then Kale scores. And what I noticed even more so about it tonight was, okay, so Landeskog's in the middle. Nelson, who is your de facto right wing, moves net front. So now the entire right side is open for Cale Makar. And that's a good rotation. I like that rotation wrinkle of maybe activating Cale as even more of a right winger. And Natchez can play the point now in the rotation until they can get back to where they want to go. And that's worked twice for them now. So, and that this really all starts with Natchez more high left side. And it's so far, man, we have had, when Charlie and Always Sunny is, trying to figure out the mailroom conspiracy, and we have had charts, we have had data points, and I mean, simulations. AI has helped us try to figure out what is wrong with the Avs power play. What can we do? Maybe the answer was Natchez is more of a high left, true left wing. Maybe that was the answer all along.
Just Pepe Sylvia and the whole thing.
Pepe Sylvia.
Pepe Sylvia. Pepe Sylvia. The man does not exist.
None of these people have gotten their mail for like a week.
Dude, it was, I won't forget today very soon. I'll remember how today felt, both this game and the combination of Nazem Kadri being traded an hour after the trade deadline. I think I was successfully the first person to break the return. Much to
was that just email to seeing the email extremely quickly, or did you have I had an insider who was not very thrilled with me that I put it out, but thank you. I think I was the first person to get there, and I was like, that was a weird... Hey, attaboy, Adam Schefter, Elliot Friedman over here.
It was a very weird, like, tingly feeling, because that's not the business that you and I are in, right? We're in the reaction business, the entertainment business, not the breaking news business. So it's not something that I had.
That's fun, though,
like,
right? It's gotta be a little bit of a rush.
Oh, it was a tingle, man. I was sitting there. I just like picked up the baby from daycare because I was about to go drop her off my parents to come back to the studio and do the show. My wife's out of town. And the baby's sitting next to me, and I like looked at her and I was like, oh shit, this is happening. I better be right. This is happening. And turned out pretty right.
If you're Mikko Rantanen right now, and you're seeing Nas go back to the Avs, and everyone's smiling and high-fiving and hugging, and Gabe's back, and everyone's back, and it's just the gang's back. Everyone's having a good old time.
You're Squidward looking out the window at SpongeBob and Patrick running around catching jellyfish.
Exactly. Mikko's got to be like, okay, that looks kind of fun.
My buddies, my homies. I just want to go back and see my friends.
Kadri's back. And it's not like it's not like it wasn't free agency, because he won't, but maybe Von Miller could return to the Broncos, and the last hurrah. You see that, when you get older, you hit free agency. I'm sure we've had several examples here in the city, but I'm in the middle of the thought process, so I can't think about it right now. But this is different. Like, still has game, had years left on the deal, signed elsewhere, and they had to give up assets to get him back. I don't know. That's even not just in Denver, like across sports, you don't see that often.
No, it's a really, really cool experience, man. Sunday's going to be amazing. If you are lucky enough to be in the building Sunday for this Minnesota Wild game, the energy around Nazem Kadri being announced will be unlike anything that I think I've seen for a returning player. Like, remember when Kadri came back as a Calgary Flame after winning the cup? Remember that ovation? It's going to be bigger than that. And that was deafening.
I know. And that's like the reason it's like this is because, Nas wanted to come back. The Avs wanted him back, but, the cap was a little tighter.
Oh, Landy's return. Duh.
Wait, what was that?
Landy's return.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Did you go?
You and I were in the building for that.
Did
that
you
was crazy.
Hyperbole and say like of all time, because I just kind of didn't hear that, but
I feel like I
well.
talk in hyperbole way too much.
Okay.
That's a very like millennial or
We get
Gen Z
excited.
thing to do. And
Yeah.
I need to be better. That's something that I can be better about.
Um, everyone like Nas wanted to come back. The Avs wanted him back, but they just all kind of knew money couldn't work. And then years pass, cap goes up a little. Things change, rosters change, and all of a sudden you can do it. And it's like O'Reilly. It would have been like, oh, is there bad blood because of how that ended, even though it wasn't that big a deal how it ended. There's like no bad blood here. This is like we're just doing memes now. Nas was, before he'd go to bed in Calgary, he'd lay with his photo of the Avs and he'd cry like it was Jean Grey and he was Wolverine, So, I mean,
His
it's just
page
what a
is
happy
sticky.
phone call it was today.
Yeah, he was thrilled. It's going to be a great fit. I think this team is primed to win. Crazy things can happen. And dude, I know we're going to get the series, but I hope to God Minnesota beats that fucking team in the first round. I don't want to see Dallas in the second round. For some reason, even though I think the Avs are the best team in the National Hockey League and I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup, for some reason it feels like, and it's because Dallas is also a really good hockey team. It just feels like they have something. Like those games always feel chaotic and unpredictable. I just don't want to play them. I don't want to see them.
Well, I know this. That's Minnesota's. If Dallas wins that series, that's 6 at least. At least that's probably 7 if Dallas wins. So that's one good thing. Is even if Dallas comes out, they just went through the ringer. For what I think is 7 games, I could see Minnesota winning that series. Honestly, I mean, Minnesota's going to get overlooked because everyone's looking ahead to Colorado, Dallas. But Minnesota's legit. I mean, they're up 3-1 now on Vegas in Las Vegas. When you trade for a Quinn Hughes, that really does make them a pretty well-rounded team. I like the Bobby Brink addition. DU Pioneer. He's like kind of had a sneaky, scored 13 goals with the Flyers. Younger has some speed. Good player. Michael McCarron is a good depth center for them. So it's going to be an interesting one, Avs and Wild on Sunday. Has Minnesota won all 3 against them this year? I believe they have. I think 2 in overtime in Minnesota. And then the other, like last weekend, where Minnesota pulled away late.
3-2 shootout loss in game number 1. Colorado beat Minnesota 5-1 on Sunday, December 21st on the road in Minnie. That was a 5-1 victory. Mackenzie Blackwood was in net for that. Then they lost 5-2 just a few days ago. This will be game number 4. So Colorado is 1-1-1 against Minnie.
1-1-1. Okay, so they did win 1. Okay.
That 5-1 win, that feels like 5-1. When the hell did that happen? How did that work?
Wait, wasn't it 5-2?
They lost 5-2 a couple of days ago. The Avs won 5-1 back in mid-December.
Oh, I don't even remember that game for some reason.
Nathan McKinnon had 2 goals. Cale Makar had a 3-point night. Natchez had a goal in that game. I don't remember this at all.
It's been a long season.
They scored a power play goal, man. Nice.
Hell yeah. Heck of a matchup. This could be your second round preview on Sunday. It could be.
Spring some other trades from around the league. Why don't you let's do this pass fail, my favorite way to take a college class.
Okay.
And I'm going to give the pass fail grades on the biggest trades of the day. Seattle Kraken get Bobby McMahon, unrestricted free agent, $1.35 million center/wing from the Toronto Maple Leafs for a second and a 4th round pick. Seattle, pass fail.
Pass. Decent little acquisition. We saw Bobby McMahon have a good game against Colorado when the Leafs came to town in January. He's having a really good year. I think it's like 19 goals. 29 years old. Yeah, it's 19 goals. It's a Kraken-like player. It's a Vegas Golden Knight type player. just those expansion teams always find their ways to get these like second, third line guys who just pop a little bit. Yeah, that's it. And look, Seattle, they're going to be pests. That's what they are. They're not loaded with star power, but they're pests. So he's a pest type player with skill. Good move.
Another
You like
fit,
it? You pass fail for you. You got to give your take too.
Okay. I think it's a pass for Toronto. Toronto needed to move on from him. They get 2 draft picks for that guy. I thought he would have fit really well here in Colorado. I think it's a fail for Seattle because why are you giving up future assets knowing that you have to go into a first-round matchup likely with the Colorado Avalanche? Like, you're giving up assets for a rental that's going to play 5 playoff games for you.
That's a fair point. Hey,
now,
look,
if you get in
Seattle,
deeper,
you never know. The Kraken beat the Avalanche a few years ago. Nobody could have predicted how that series would have gone down.
I got dragged on Seattle radio because I did a pre-series hit a couple of times on their biggest station out there, and I went, dude, I think it's a 5-game series, and then you lose in 7, and Val Nichushkin does his extracurriculars, and the rest is history. All right, moving on. Another fit. I think this is the most New York Islanders player ever. The Islanders trade for former St. Louis Blues captain Braden Shen and his $6.5 million cap hit that still has 3 more years left on that deal. They send Jonathan Drouin, former Av, over to the St. Louis Blues alongside a first-round pick that was the Avalanche first-round pick in this year's entry draft and a third-round pick for the Devils. Pass-fail, New York Islanders getting Braden Shen.
One thing I want to say overall, because like a lot of first-round picks and seconds are involved in so many of these deals, it's just an expensive market. It's just so expensive right now. So I think the Kadri deal really wasn't that expensive when you look at it. It's kind of awesome compared to like some other dudes. Like I'm taking Braden Shen over, or excuse me, I'm taking Kadri over Braden Shen every day. I like Shen, but I'm taking Kadri over him every day. And I really only care about the first, and so really not that far off. Pass because it's the East and you got Matthew Schaefer now. You are having a pretty good season. Third in the Metro. Shen's a gritty, good playoff player. Pass.
I think it's a pass for both teams.
Yeah, I agree. You got a first and a couple other things. Yeah, good deal.
And then John Carlson. This will be my final pass fail. The John Carlson trade. He goes from the Washington Capitals over to the Anaheim Ducks. His $8 million cap hit is gone at the end of this season. Was it worth it for the Anaheim Ducks to trade for John Carlson? They gave up a first-round pick and a third-round pick.
Yes, and did you mention his contract? How much time is left on that?
He is an unrestricted free agent.
UFA, it's a rental. Because again, okay, now you've turned me on to the whole like, hey, you're gonna lose eventually. Is it worth it? But hey, you also, especially I'd say Anaheim more so than Seattle because that young Anaheim core is so much fun. Go take it seriously. Go compete. Go show these young dudes, that we believe in you. And yeah, if we're being honest, we're not winning a cup, but we're going to pretend like we can. And John Carlson, yeah, I'm with you. He's right there with Kadri in terms of who was, a better, pound for pound acquisition. He's a really good player. So yeah, like that's fun. That's going to help Anaheim. It's a veteran. Good. That they are a dangerous first round team, whoever plays them.
I think it is a flying pass from the Anaheim Ducks. They are currently the number 1 seed in the Pacific Division, which is open for anybody to win. I think it's a great deal for them. I think it's a great deal for the Washington Capitals to get a first-round pick and a third-round pick for a guy who probably in the offseason is going to re-sign in Washington. Like, I thought Washington did a fantastic job. I think Anaheim got better, man. The Ducks aren't going to be a wild card team. The Ducks are either going to be winning the Pacific or they're going to be in that 2-3 battle with Edmonton. they're a plucky team. They're fast. They're dangerous. I think the 5-1 victory for the Avs is a way bigger score than how that game actually played. They're building it the right way, man. And I think you go into these situations where you don't have many opportunities to strike while the iron's hot. They're striking.
Yeah, they're going to be dangerous. That's I think San Jose is going to be dangerous, and that's another reason why you want to go all in now, or in the moment, because you never know. Like, look in the NBA, Wemby, it's just like that. It can be just like that, and Celebrini's really good, and what the Ducks have is really good. So it could be the Thunder happened a little quicker than you might have thought. So another reason for the Avs to be as aggressive as they are and really fuck next year. It is all about this year.
I think my preference as a 1 versus 8 matchup are those San Jose Sharks. I think it would be the easiest of all of the matchups that are currently out there. Seattle still has some veteran players and some big defensemen, and we know what happens when Colorado plays Seattle. There's some history there. I think I would like to play San Jose. I think it'd be more fun to play San Jose as well from just a pure viewing perspective out there. I think if we're going to go pass-fail, the Edmonton Oilers failed the deadline yet again. They had one thing that they had to address, rather two things, defense and goaltending. They went out and they tried to get defense. They failed at getting goaltending. What happens on trade deadline day? They lose 6-3.
Well, they did. They got Connor Murphy, who's, that's not, that's not Zdeno Chara or anything like that. It's whatever. That's not, he's a good player. Look, they already made their goaltending move, Tristan Jarry, and they made it early. And yeah, you can maybe try to atone for that error. It's funny, like how the Avs kind of were able to do that. It did take a little bit of time. Trade for Georgiev didn't work out. They retool the room. Like, oh, it's so easy. The Avs retooled their goaltending room like that. Why can't Edmonton do it? Well, you saw timing some of it. The Avs struck when Blackwood was hot, but they're just stuck with Jarry. They made their move. They made their big play. And what? You're not going to flip him for anything better. So they're just screwed. That's what they are. They're screwed.
I think I've exhausted today, man. It was an unforgettable day in Avalanche history. Nazem Kadri traded at the deadline at the buzzer. Well, after the buzzer, it was like you had it was a full court throw, a heave, a Nikola Jokic 90-foot shot that was just in the air forever after the buzzer, and then it finally went in. That was the Nazem Kadri deal today. And then they turn around, they come from behind, they erase two goal deficits, they score with under 20 seconds to go with the goaltender pulled. They beat Dallas on the road. Eat a bat of dicks, Dallas. Like, that felt great. What a day.
Hey, I'm not going to argue with you with what you just said. Power play goals. This day had everything. This was a quintessential Colorado Avalanche Friday. That's a good one. Remember that one.
Maybe I went over the edge on that last comment, but you know what? I can't stand that hockey team, man.
The NHL wants rivalries with their playoff format. We'll give you rivalries.
Yeah, we sure will. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. For Spring, I'm Raj. We'll be back on these airwaves, these digital mediums, right around 3 p.m. on Sunday after the Avs take on the Minnesota Wild. Avs are in first place by 7 points. They have a game in hand over Dallas. They continue to roll. Again, Nazem Kadri coming back to the Mile High City. A fantastic day here in Denver.